Well, good evening, pipe pals. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas! Had to get that out of my system. Okay. So, lay housekeeping. We're smoking my 1945 K. Woody Calabash. My K. Woody 1945 Calabash. And there it is. She is a good girl. Now that's a thumbnail, right? See, is that a thumbnail? Yeah. My Hodge twins would say, yeah, get a good thumbnail there. Got a damn good show for you tonight. All right. It's going to be one of those nights, folks. I can feel it. Hey, just wake up and smell the Christmas cookie, okay? Wake up and smell the Christmas cookie. That's what I'm talking about right there. Okay, let me get this tamped down a little bit more. I'm talking to my Charlie Brown right over there because I sometimes with the iPad or the iPhone, if I'm using the reverse screen, the other cameras are on the other side and it's easier to focus on the camera lenses because there's camera lenses there. They were putting a little dot or a red light or a green light on this side to remind people that that's where the camera was, but for some reason, that's the reason why it's not doing that is because I had to use Filmic Pro tonight to make this video. Well, I want to start out by saying a little shout out to the Gentleman Scholar who I got a video from him last night or the day before. And Gary, I think you were smoking some Santa's Surprise. Is that what that was called? I guess it's an equivalent to Boswell's Christmas cookie. Can we say Christmas cookie? I knew we could. Christmas cookie in my 1945 K. Woody. Yeah. So Merry Christmas, y'all. How y'all doing? Kind of got my cowboy going on here. I was going to get my Yellowstone cowboy hat, but it hasn't come in the mail yet because I've been watching Yellowstone. Yeah, many of you guys probably could tell from the introduction that I was playing the theme to Yellowstone, which I think kind of worked out pretty good with my video. My intro video, that is. But wait, there's more. Just want to say that I'm also enjoying a cup of almost Christmas coffee. Yes, I'm drinking Black Rifle again. I'm kind of gonna have to make up with them folks. I'm not exactly all that sanguine about some of the decisions that they made, but if I've learned anything from watching Yellowstone, you gotta forgive. Yeah. Gotta forgive. I know that Gary was having problems with his Christmas pipe. My condolences to you, Gary. My sense of taste is and smell is still coming back. I can actually I can smell some of this, which is still a delight. Christmas cookie. Delicious. Got my Christmas coffee here. Kind of Christmas coffee. It's lacking with the one ingredient. But it's just, it's part of the video. So I know some of you guys and gals out there that do watch these videos from time to time, and I thank you very much, by the way. Hope you're having a great holy day season or holy season, because we, in the old Christian sphere, look beyond just holidays. We look to holy days. So something to think about. Yeah, this is last year's Christmas cookie, which I never opened, by the way. And I have to tell you that it was nice and fresh and moist and perfect, just perfect. Maybe even letting it sit for a year might have actually made it a little bit better. I don't know. A little bit aged Christmas cookie. Can't get any better than that. Thank you, JM, wherever you are. And I'm smoking it, or sipping it. I like to say sipping it in a calabash. And the reason why I chose this calabash tonight is because I think there's something Christmassy about the meerschaum calabashes. I wish I had an actual Christmas pipe. I think the two acquisitions that I am still lacking in my collection are the Christmas meerschaum pipe, and possibly a Dunhill dress pipe. But those are about the only two pipes that I'd probably ever be interested in acquiring in my advanced years here. So we are still digging out of the winter, our latest winter storm, which was last week, and we are expecting another big winter storm starting this week, kind of even lasting through kind of Christmas. Oh my gosh, I don't know where we're going to put all the snow. It is a concern. I will say it is a concern. One of the things that we have to remember here in California, especially in the northern part here, is that unbeknownst to those who subscribe to climate change, when you look at the 200-year, I think, annuarial tables of hydrology and things of that nature, California has always been a land of extremes. We don't have a quote-unquote normal. We go from drought to deluge. And right now, it's great, beautiful. I mean, it's awesome. Hopefully more people will come up for the holidays. I don't know if I'm going to tell you my vacationer stories, because sometimes, and I find out that I'm not the only one that thinks this way, but maybe if I run out of things to say tonight in my Christmas video message to you all, I'll kind of get on there and talk a little bit about encountering vacationers up here in the winterlands. Okay. Okay, so just a little tech stuff. I know some of you guys and gals probably get a little, you're not really that sanguine about me talking tech, but obviously you're probably going, hey, you got a microphone in front of you now. You never had that before. Well, that's true. And I'm using the new M1 class of iPad, which I got a few months back. And I know I've kind of talked a little bit about this in the last videos, I think, off and on, tech stuff. And I even did an actual partial box opening of my new MacBook M1 MacBook Pro Max, which is a great machine, but man, I'll tell you what, just the basic M1 products, I have been almost embarrassed to say that they're as good as my iMac Pro that I got 2 years ago, not going on 3 years, which was actually a 5-year-old machine, but it has done video editing like you wouldn't believe. So, but here's the thing, I've been really intrigued, always have been, with Adobe products. Before I got the my first iMac, I was doing Adobe Premiere Elements, like Photoshop Elements, which is the scaled down version. And my friend and I from Fairfield, old Steve there, he and I both were amazed at just how many layers that program, even though it was called Elements, could do video editing wise. And this goes back 12 years ago. And then eventually I started getting into Final Cut Pro and enjoying that product. As you know, I've been mostly a Final Cut Pro editor for the last 12 years. So anyway, where's my little Gita Slam here? Here we go. So anyway, what was I going to say? So anyway, I started getting back into Adobe products. I'm not happy about having to have a subscription-based relationship with these people. I liked it when you could buy, which 8, 9, 10 years ago was very expensive software, because you'd spend an awful lot of money, but it was yours. You bought it, and Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. Now it's subscriber based, and you pay a monthly fee. The monthly fee is not that bad. It's not that great, but it's not that bad. And plus, you get all the updates when they come, and you don't have to worry about having your software at this point in time until they decide to probably do another subscription type based thing. I don't know what's going to happen after now, but if you buy the cloud, the Creative Cloud, you have access to all, which is amazing, all of the Adobe products, from Photoshop to Premiere to After Effects to Adobe Illustrator, which is another awesome program. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. And now this one that I'm using tonight is called Adobe Premiere Rush. It's basically made for the iPad. Now, I wish I had done a little bit more investigating on that product. Delicious. Because it appears that Adobe has I wouldn't say they've abandoned it, nothing like that, but I don't know if they've really refined it after 3 years. I've been watching a lot of tutorials to learn how to do Adobe Premiere, which is the equivalent to Final Cut Pro. And I have to say tonight was the first night that I actually did my very first, I make my other videos for my other homily channel. It's Stevenson RF. That's Stevenson RF, one word. And this is good. And I think I packed it right this time too. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. Okay, so that happens, Gary. So don't feel too bad. Anyway, so I've been seeing a lot of wonderful tutorials out there. There's a little gal named Leela from the Netherlands who does wonderful little Adobe Premiere videos and other Adobe products, I think, and just a delightful young lady. And actually, we even texted a little bit, but it's kind of fun because she's a very animated little soul, and but very knowledgeable. But anyway, very helpful too. But anyway, so but I've been watching her tutorials to kind of go through and learn Premiere Pro, just the basics, so I can start editing some videos using Premiere Pro. And the intention was to try to use part of the iPad to bridge a gap between my iMac and my MacBook, and see if I can kind of, use some of this, what do you call it, handoff programs that you can start a program on one device and then finish it on another device. So anyway, that was my goal. And anyway, so tonight though, I said, well, I've been really reluctant because I don't know the program that well. And I've always, when I'm not sure about something, I kind of put it off. I don't know if you're like that or not, but I do. And so tonight I just said, come on. You've been through the tutorial several times. You kind of know the basics now. You should be able to produce a video from start to scratch without even having to look at the tutorial. And so sure enough, I said, okay, I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to start to finish and I'm going to see if I can do it. Now, a lot of times something as simple as a 10, 15 minute video could take maybe in Final Cut Pro, maybe about a half an hour to put it together, and then uploading it for some reason it's always kind of slow internet up here in the hinterlands. So anyway, but I was surprised and delighted that I was able to produce and edit and upload a video within about an hour and a half, without having to resort to the tutorial. So I'm like, hey, an old dog like me can still learn new tricks. So anyway. So that's what I'm using. I'm using the iPad Pro, M1 iPad Pro right now, and I'm using this microphone for audio because I actually made this video several days ago, and the audio was absolutely poo-poo. And I just said, no, I'm not happy with that. I'm not going to upload that. So the original Christmas video, and you didn't miss much, folks. I know some people go, oh, I want to see that one too. No, you don't, because you can barely understand me. So that's why I wanted to get a different mic system like I normally have. Usually when I use the iPhone, and I usually use this. I don't know if I use this one or my Rode Wireless 2. I think I usually use my Rode Wireless 2 wireless mic for my iPhone. And usually that gets me just great quality audio, no problems at all. But the other one, I was using the native app to the iPad, and it just wasn't working. Now, it's weird. I don't understand why, but for some reason, Filmic Pro, another camera app, takes the audio from external audio sources flawlessly, perfectly, great. So, it's a learning curve. That's the only thing about a lot of these things. It's a real learning curve. So, and you got to spend time. So sometimes I always, I like learning new things, but I'm always painfully aware that if I'm going to inaugurate a new piece of software or a new hardware, it's going to take hours to kind of figure my way through it. And so tonight when I was able to do my first Premiere Pro video start to finish, and that means import and export. That's the kind of the beginning and the end, the whole process, and it took me about an hour and a half start to finish. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. That is awesome, because normally learning new things for me, I'm a slow plotter. It's like, okay, no, I hit this little button here, and now I hit this button over here, and oh, that didn't work. Oh no, now what do I do? So, but anyway, I'm kind of celebrating a little victory tonight. So, hope you'll join me in celebrating. Okay, wow. So Christmas videos. Yep, in a few days it'll be Christmas, and what was I going to say about my Christmas videos? Well, I've been watching. Let me get this done first, and then I'll talk about Christmas, and then I'll wrap it up. Okay, wrap it up. Put it in a nice little bow on top, and Merry Christmas. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Ho 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 ho. So anyway, I've been intrigued. Been a couple of people have when they say recommended, they haven't personally recommended to me, but they've said, hey, if you ever want to binge watch a pretty good TV show, you might want to watch Yellowstone. Now, I guess I was intrigued because being Yellowstone, Montana, up north, winter, snow, I thought there was going to be a lot of snow scenery, and and sometimes I know it's kind of crazy, like the postman's day off, he goes for a walk, but I kind of like watching winter videos. Here I am surrounded by nothing but winter, and you would think that the last thing I'd want to see is a winter video, but I don't know, I'm just intrigued by the winter. Then so I thought, well, that Montana show might have a lot of interesting, beautiful scenery, because they say it's pretty much filmed on location. They don't use a lot of Hollywood trickery and green screen. So I was up for that. I was okay. I can get into that. So anyway, and I like their cowboy hats. I got to tell you that I think they call it a gutter cut. The hat. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Now I know it's kind of probably a fad, and 10 years from now, people will probably hold their nose and go, "Ooh, that's an ugly hat." But I like hats. Most of you know that I like to wear I haven't done hats in a while because I just have been so busy with everything else. But when I finally kind of get feeling better and stuff, I kind of like celebrating with a hat. I like wearing hats, and so even though I've never considered myself a cowboy, I kind of like those that John Dutton hat. So I'm hoping to finally figure out my hat size again. I think I'm 7 3/8, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't want it to be too small, because then it'll look ridiculous. It'll look like a little clown hat on my head. Or I don't want it too big, because then it's going to, fall down on my eyes and stuff. So anyway, but I like the show in some ways. Now, some of the things I can't really recommend it to other people, because there's just too much gratuitous cursing and inappropriate adult scenes, if you know what I mean. But I'm not really, believe it or not, I'm not watching it for those things. And some of those things are kind of, to me, they don't really add to the story for the most part. But the character of the patriarch John Dutton, that character absolutely fascinates me. And yeah, the other supporting characters are, they're just, in some ways, in fact, it was interesting because I think I'm on season 4, episode 4, I think. Anyway, the one of the characters is just way over the top. In the beginning, you kind of thought, okay, this character, they're really trying to make this a really meaty character, and and I'm not going to mention the character's name. Maybe you can figure out who I'm talking about. But the bottom line was, at first, I'm kind of giving this character a lot of latitude because I'm saying, well, they're trying to do character development, and maybe some of this action on this character's part is exaggerated just so you kind of get intrigued with the character and you'll stick with this character. But the last couple episodes, I'm going, they're really just, this character's become one-dimensional. They're just mean and nasty. I mean, there's no depth to this character. It's like, there's got to be more to this person than just being mean and nasty. I mean, you can play mean and nasty for so long, and then it gets boring. It gets really boring. And so, but again, going back to the main character, the Kevin Costner character, John Dutton, and what I find interesting is this, and this is where I'll kind of just take it and leave it tonight, but I'm still looking at my Charlie Brown. The reason why I'm looking at Charlie Brown, and I'm going to have to see how this all comes out, is because if I go like this, if I look right at the center of this, at the center of the screen, I'm looking off this way. I'm not really looking at you. Okay, so you're over here if I'm going to look at you. So I have my Charlie Brown right down there, as you can see. There's my Charlie Brown. So if I look at him a little bit more, it gives me something to focus on. So I'm hoping that works a little bit better, so I don't look like I'm looking off this way. Okay. So anyway, getting back to the old Yellowstone character, John Dutton, and the whole character, the whole program, I think it's interesting. Again, I don't know where it's all going to end up because everything right now is so into woke culture and everything's so PC, and maybe this will turn out to be the same thing at the very end. They'll give you this, anyway. But here's the thing. They show this guy, and he's basically trying to protect his land and his family. And what they do is they juxtapose it, which I think is interesting, with the new narrative of all white people and all people like him are bad and evil. And you get this reference from all these other characters that this John Dutton guy, he's a really bad man. And unless I'm just so obtuse and I'm just so, whatever, that I'm not seeing it. But you see it actually, for the most part. Again, I'm not going to talk about everything because there's some things I think are just kind of thrown in there gratuitously just to get views. But the basic story is this guy is trying to protect his land. And there's some really cool scenes where he does that. And I really like it. I like the way he deals with adversity. Because a lot of these different peoples are, they think he's this bad guy and we got to take his land away from him. Or we're going to take his land away because we want to take it so we can make more money, that kind of thing. And basically he stands up to these different people. And so, but it's interesting because they do play the new woke narrative, especially the Native American or the indigenous peoples or the First Nations people, whatever you want to call the people now. And it's like, but it's interesting because they juxtapose that belief or that view against the traditional view of this is somebody's property and they have a right to own it and defend it. And I think it's interesting because I'm hoping that maybe you may not walk away saying, this guy has a right to the land or whatever, or I think he's right or wrong, but it's kind of where we're at right now, because I think that if people could kind of put aside their differences and work together, I think there's plenty of room at the table for everybody. That's my personal belief. And I've seen it with different people, different ethnicities, different skin colors, different religious backgrounds, or nowadays mostly non-religious backgrounds. But people really coming together for the common good and trying to alleviate and find solutions to their differences. in some of the recent episodes, it's kind of been interesting because even the Native Americans who were this one tribal chief who was really, really, and he still kind of says, well, I still don't like the guy, but they're kind of like having to come together to fight these other people that are basically just want to steal the whole Yellowstone and just turn it into a big ski resort. And both the Native Americans and John Dutton say, we're not going to let them do it. And then in the last episode or two, they kind of begrudgingly kind of said, well, we probably need to, at least come together for a period of time and fight these other people. And I'm thinking, yeah, way to go. That's what it's all about. So anyway, I find the show intriguing for that reason, that it kind of, it has the traditional, if you will, American ethos, the strong, independent kind of guy who stands against the world, against this another narrative of, all white people are bad and they stole all of our land and you can't trust them and they're all evil and bad. And it's interesting because they kind of like put these two philosophies of life kind of side by side. And I don't know if they're going to come down on one or the other, or just kind of let people make up their own mind and say, well, maybe it's not either or, maybe it's both and kind of a thing. People coming together as opposed to people, fighting each other and hating each other. What really works in this world, I would like to think that it's the latter, that people, coming, or the former, I guess, whatever. My belief is people coming together and resolving their differences and working together to make things better for everybody. And again, it's not going to happen. We're never going to have a utopia, folks, but we certainly can make things better. And I think if other people see themselves as having a place at the table, then I think that that's where we need to begin. But that's just me. What do I know, So anyway, Christmas, I just wanted to kind of share with you something that I thought was kind of good. Hold on a second. My pipe's going out. And this is actually a pretty darn good, calabash tonight, I got to say. Not burning a briar, I'm puffing on a calabash here. That is delicious. Yes, indeed. That's good. Okay. Christmas time is a real, depending on where you're at and who you're with and all that, it can be a real joyful time if you let it, but as long as you don't let the craziness of Christmas get to you. No, I shouldn't say the craziness of Christmas. I should say the craziness of the holidays and the craziness of all the materialism that goes out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying if you go out and buy nice things for your friends and even yourself, you're some evil person. You greedy capitalist pig, you. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that, but a lot of times we do get caught up in all the details and all the facets of the holiday season. Again, I'd like to call it a holy season. It kind of changes the whole perspective. But we were talking a couple of days ago after Mass on Thursday morning. And we were talking about what people were going to do for the holidays, or, I hate using that term, but that's more where I'm kind of focusing on right at this moment, as opposed to the true reason for Christmas. But so as we were talking about people, going to visit their family members in faraway places, or the people from faraway places coming to visit them, and getting all the details of hospitality, all the right food and all the good drinks and all the presents and all the shopping and all that stuff. Plus, we just had this new fallen snow, which, even though it's beautiful, it really puts a kink in just being able to move around. I tried to go just tonight to just go and mail a simple letter, and I couldn't even get in to the post office, only because the snow banks Because when they clear a parking lot, they got to park the snow. They literally got to park the snow somewhere, and they made these big, huge mountains of snow. And where there used to be parking lots, those parking lots are gone. And I went into the Safeway, and I almost got trapped because there was no way to get across the parking lot because there was a big mountain of snow. And I was going to go. Normally, I even park far away so I can walk. Get as many steps in as I can, go to the post office and drop off this little letter, a little thank you card to some people that were very generous with our parish. And, and I thought, well, I'll do that, and couldn't do it. And then I panicked a little bit because the cars were coming down one way and I couldn't go that way. And I had to back up, and I was saying, boy, I hope nobody's right behind me because I won't be able to back up and they won't. Oh, it was going to be ugly. Fortunately, there was nobody behind me and I was able to quickly back up and get out of there. But anyway, the snow kind of makes things a little bit difficult. So the person, though, we were talking, and they said, we were talking about all those little Christmas frustrations, and they said, oh, you mean the Christmas chaos? And I thought, I never heard that phrase before, but I like it, the Christmas chaos. And to some extent, that excitement, the anticipation, the energy that goes into a lot of this, it's all fun. It can be. But if you allow that to kind of start to corrode your spirit and your heart and your mind, and you get all freaked out about, oh, I didn't get the right present for that right person, man, I started thinking about that, And, it made me think back to Christmases that I remember as a boy and as a young person. And I kind of remember the nostalgia. And a lot of those things I remember were magical because they weren't compulsory. They weren't compulsory. They were something, for example, now it's a tradition now for me to watch It's a Wonderful Life every year. But I now again, when I was a kid, I'm sure my mom and my brother and my aunts and uncles, they all probably were at one point in the Christmas holiday season, that was playing on the TV in the background, and I kind of remember snippets of it. But I never really was a big, It's a Wonderful Life person until I was in seminary. And I had finally, it was either my second year or my first year, and I borrowed a TV set. And I was kind of, there in the seminary for the holidays. And I can't remember if it was my first or second year, but I just remember that I was able to get a little TV set back when they had little TV sets, not the the 8-foot, big widescreen things that fill up your whole wall, just a little TV set, kind of about the size of my little Charlie Brown thing there. And I remember, plugging it in and turning it on and wow, I got a TV now, it was kind of cool. And it was Christmas time, and I remember It's a Wonderful Life came on. And I went, oh, I kind of remember this. We used to kind of watch this. I remember my mom watched it. My brother watched it. Oh, I'll sit and watch this. Well, it was the very first time I watched the thing from beginning to end, because it is kind of a long movie. And I just realized how much I loved It's a Wonderful Life. And again, I kind of made that discovery on my own, kind of by myself, maybe by and by accident. And I said, what a wonderful movie. What a wonderful message. What a wonderful life that George Bailey did have. But again, I kind of discovered that for myself. Discovering things that, you kind of go, oh, this is kind of magical. I like this. And the problem with a lot of Christmas things is that we turn them into traditions, and there's nothing wrong with traditions. I'm a big traditionalist. You all know that. But when they become compulsory, you got to have the right tree. Oh, I don't want one of those artificial trees. I want a real tree, Well, I want a real tree from this Christmas tree farm. It has to be this Christmas tree farm, We have to go as a family, and we have to cut the Christmas tree on this week before Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, all that stuff. We have to have Aunt Mabel's, candied yams, or we have to have, Grandma Katie's special Pioneer Woman, cranberry sauce. Has to be that. Can't be anything else, or Johnny's mashed potatoes. Those are classic mashed potatoes. In other words, you lock yourself in like a Christmas straitjacket, and now you don't feel the magic anymore. You feel compelled. You feel it's compulsory. I have to do it this way. And I just kind of think that, I kind of realized that there were some things that I was, spiritually kind of going through last couple of days. And all of a sudden it was kind of like, you're locking yourself into seeing things a certain way. And, you're free to do that. It's still a free country. But if you lock yourself in and say, this is what I expect, great expectations. Thank you, Charles Dickens. And all you're going to do is say, unless it materializes this way, then I'm going to have a rotten Christmas. Well, God bless you. If that's what you want, God bless you. More power to you. But I started thinking, in my own personal life, I said, you know what? Why do I lock myself in? Why do I limit God to say it can only be done this way, or this way and no way else, And it kind of started me thinking on a new way of looking at Christmas, and kind of saying, well, you know what? Maybe if I kind of didn't make it so legalistic, I might be able to really enjoy it, and not, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Scrooge. I kind of used to pretend I was a Scrooge, humbug, but, but basically, I do enjoy this time of year. Of course, the nostalgic Christmas, the sentimental, maybe if you dare say the commercialized Charlie Brown version of Christmas, those, yes. And I remember watching that TV show. There he is right there, watching that little Christmas TV show every year. And I just loved it, But if somebody told me, well, no, it's 7:45 on Sunday night, and we have to sit down and watch Charlie Brown Christmas. We have to? I just want to, So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I kind of shared this with the folks in church today, is, don't, and sometimes you can, and this is the other little message in this, is that sometimes those little irritations, especially that happen at Christmas time, the lights aren't just right, or the star on the tree is crooked, or or you got the wrong light bulbs this year instead of the traditional ones. You got the doggone LED ones that are crappy, or whatever it is. Forgive me, maybe I should have said that, but hey, so anyway, but instead of getting locked into all that, try to use those things, though. Here's the other thing, is try to use those little annoyances, those little irritations, those little bugging things that bug you, to try to motivate you to find solutions, Christmas solutions. Instead of getting all bummed out and saying it's not the way it used to be. This isn't the way it was when I was growing up, or this isn't the way it was at my mom's house or my dad's house or whatever it is. Getting yourself locked into one way of looking at things. Kind of give yourself a little bit of latitude, a little bit of room. Be semper gumby, super flexible. And just kind of say, well, okay, maybe it doesn't work this way this year, but let's try something that'll be just as good, And I think that's, to me, has been a little bit of a real early Christmas gift to myself that God, I think, has kind of given to me. It's like, you don't have to look at certain things a certain way. You don't have to interpret certain things a certain way. And I'll tell you what, I think that's going to be a wonderful little Christmas gift that I think has been given to me this year. And I think I'm really happy about that, because sometimes, I certainly being a pastor and a padre, you're kind of in the business of helping other people to experience and discover Christmas. Okay. And that's all good. That's not a bad thing at all. But sometimes, you can kind of feel, if you let yourself, you can kind of feel just a little bit left out, or a little bit, let down. It's like, oh, this is all there is. And I remember having that experience, and actually, probably it's a good reason I kind of call that to mind. I remember when I was in Bosnia as a chaplain, and I ran all over Bosnia celebrating, I think I did 5 masses that day. And so by the time I got done, I thought, okay, now it's my turn to celebrate and have a good time. And I think it was at the Swedish battalion up at Camp Casey, or Camp Quezon, I remember. That's where we ended up. And it was about 6:30 at night. And I thought, oh, great, I can go and have a nice leisurely Christmas meal. It's going to be delicious. And I get to the what they call the refectory, the DFAC, where they had the meals, not the restaurant, but the chow hall. Most of you military guys know what I mean, chow hall. And all the lights were out and all the doors were locked. They had stopped serving the Christmas meal about 45 minutes before I got there. And talk about feeling a little pretty despondent. Yeah. And unfortunately, I really started letting it get to me. I was starting to get a real resentment. But God still took care of me. This guy came, he spoke English pretty well. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Chaplain, but we have, locked, we're done." And he said, Did you get a meal tonight? I said, "Well, actually, no, I didn't." And he looked around. He goes, "Come on, we'll fix you something." So they fixed me a plate, and I kind of sat in the kitchen there, in the back room there, and I had my plate on my knees and my little Christmas punch. It wasn't anything alcoholic, of course, so they didn't have alcohol. But anyway, I kind of sat there, and I kind of had to fight that feeling sorry for myself thing, And I recognize, looking back on it now, that was a very special Christmas. I was thousands of miles away from home, and my loved ones were, again, thousands of miles away from me, and yet here I was doing good things for people. Now, I won't go into the other story. There's another side of the story, but I had to wait before I could really get my Christmas in, because God was getting ready to do something really awesome in my life a few days later on New Year's Eve. So, I just had to be a little bit patient. So even though I was a little bit dejected and a little bit depressed and sad that it wasn't turning out, I thought, well, look at all the good things I did, and now I don't even get anything, So you got to be careful that you don't let it bite you. You don't let Christmas bite you in the old derriere, And again, if you trade your Christmas chaos for the Prince of Peace, which is the real reason for the season, then you won't be disappointed. We won't be disappointed. Okay? Well, that was my Christmas message for you all. I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks for watching. I'm going to now try and put this all together in Adobe Premiere Rush and upload it and get it to YouTube hopefully tonight. So again, thanks for watching. And again, in this wonderful season of light, light up your world. And light up your pipe. We'll see you next time. God bless.